Good afternoon. This is Debbie Broughton, your Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from St. Robert, Missouri. I'm hopping on here this evening to show you tips 4 through 6 for the new hot foil system. And we're not even going to use the heat. We are going to see what different things we can do with the dies without using the heat. In case maybe you wanted to try something different, or maybe you didn't want to get the hot foil machine but you still love the dies. So I'm just gonna wait a minute here to see if anybody hops on. Still love the dies. So I'm just gonna wait. Sorry, I forgot to mute my laptop. So as you can see, look how beautiful this looks. It is Bubble Bath two-tone cardstock. I got some ink on the back side with Berry Burst on the die. And it puts the ink on and it makes an impression. So I'm going to show you that. I'm going to show you how you can use a strip of tear-in tape or glue dots to just add a little bit of extra bling to your page. And then this one, I'm going to show you how to emboss these leaves. And this one is a very deep emboss, and you can kind of see because I used the two-tone cardstock that you could see some of the white showing through. And then on this side, but can you see, I'm not sure if you can tell on the video how deep that is, but here it is, but not as deep, so that the white from the inside of the cardstock doesn't show. But it just depends. This kind of looks cute too with just the little white showing on the leaves. So let's get started. What we're gonna need today is my cut emboss machine. So don't laugh at my plates because I hardly ever buy new plates until they're just completely worn out. So they're a little bit well used. And we're going to make our sandwich for the light dye first, which is, I have them all written down here on my piece of paper so I wouldn't forget. It is base number 1, number 3, then your dye, then your paper, your cardstock, now this die is bigger than a regular 4 by 5 1/4 card front, so some of it's not going to be covered. And then we say the die and the cardstock, then the impressions plate. And we'll see if this works now that I'm reading my notes. But I don't know, it doesn't feel tight enough. It's going through there way too easy. I must have forgot a step. Let me just see. These tips I'm showing today really all depend on how you make your sandwich. I see I forgot the number 2, which is the other white plate. Here it is. So card number 1, base number 1, number 2, number 3, the die, the cardstock, and then the impressions plate. So let's see if this works better. This works better. It still rolls through there really easy. If ever you make a sandwich and it doesn't want to go through your Stampin' Boss machine, then just stop and see what's wrong so that you don't damage your machine. So here are the leaves, and they're just lightly embossed in the background. So now we're going to do another pass with a different sandwich, which this sandwich is base number 1, Then number 3. Then the die. Then the cardstock. I'm going to do it on the light side this time. The impressions mat and the other number 3 plate. So here we go. Now this time it is, you can tell it's just a little bit tighter, but still not too tight that I can't easily roll it through there. I got my impressions plate kind of on there crooked, so it was rubbing against the side of the machine. So let's take this off and see what happens. Now we have where the white from the middle of the cardstock shows up on the light side, and it shows up just a little bit on the dark side. So that kind of just look like highlights on your leaves. So there we go with 2 on how to use the die to emboss without foil. So I'm going to move this down here just for a minute so I can get this next one fixed up. So this next one we'll do this beautiful die that covers the whole piece of a card front. Well, actually, it's even bigger than a card front. So what we're going to do is I'm going to get some scrap paper here. I just took one of my sheets from my Stampin' Positioner. And this time I'm going to use, instead of the Berry Burst, I'm going to try Hydrangea Hue. I think that would be a pretty color for these flowers. And I'm just going to ink up my die here. I just want to be sure that I have, these leaves are pretty solid, so you want to be sure that you get enough ink on the leaves. Okay. So there we go. Now we have it. Now we want to be very careful that we don't touch it too much so that we get ink on our fingers. We're going to move this to this side, this over here. Bring back my Stampin' Emboss machine. Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And we're going to build our sandwich. So let's see what our sandwich is. Our sandwich is, let's see, the base, which is number 1. Number 2, which is the white piece that goes on top. Then we are going to put on a piece of cardboard. Not thick cardboard. This is the cardboard that I cut out of the back of our DSP. So it's thin, but it's thicker than cardstock. We're going to lay this right here in the middle. Then we're going to add, I'm still looking, okay. Then we're going to add our die. We're going to add our cardstock and try to get it on there evenly. Somehow I got some ink on the back of this piece. Okay, then next I'm going to put, I cut this from another piece of my Stampin' Positioner grid paper, and I'm going to put this on the top just because I don't want any of that Hydrangea Hue ink to get on my impressions pad. I could most probably wash it off, but just in case it would stain it. Okay. And then we need the impressions mat. So let's just see how this works. Fingers crossed that I remembered this sandwich right, or I could read my own writing. You know what? I forgot to put a number 3 in there. So we're just going to take this off right here. I forgot my number 3. So then I got the cardboard, the die, the paper. Let me just move this more in the middle. Add this piece on top. Now add my impressions mat. The impressions mat just came out, I think, last month, because we now have some dies in our regular line that first you cut them out and then you can just make an impression with the impressions die with them. So we're going to turn this slowly through here. We're going to cross our fingers. This all works so well when I'm doing it by myself here in my room, but then when I get on the camera, sometimes it doesn't always work out like I want it. So, we got our impressions pad. We have our paper. Isn't that beautiful? With the hydrangea hue on the bubble bath. And it kind of embosses it too, so they're a little bit raised up in spots. I think that's another great way to use this die. And then I just took it to the sink, ran it under a little bit of water, then dried it really well, and it seems to be doing good. It still works. So that is tip number 2. Now, tip number 3 for today, or I should say number 6 for the series, is tearing tape and glue dots. So I'm gonna turn it over on the light side, and we're just gonna play with this. We're gonna put a stripe of tearing tape down the side so that you could put a stripe down the side of your card if you wanted to. My problem is that sometimes I don't always get things really straight when I'm laying them out, but I'm going to do my best to get this. That looks pretty straight. Okay, then I'm going to use my Pick-a tool to take off the backing. Then I'm going to get, where'd I put, here it is. Okay, this is my container of all my leftover foils that I've been using. This one I tried to do something with and it didn't quite work out right. These are for when I did the free class that you get when you buy the system. You get a free class where you can. So we're going to put our tearing tape down. We're going to put the shiny side. Now I forgot. The shiny side up or down. I should have wrote it on my notes. So we're just going to try. I'm pretty sure it's down. We're just going to try a little bit this. Because if you put it the wrong way, it just tears up the tearing tape. Okay. See what I mean? It's not sunny. It's shiny side up. Let's try that. There we go. Now it has those leaves in there because my piece did have some leaves. So if you didn't want that, you'd be sure to use just the part of your leftover foil that didn't have the leaf in it. And then we're going to use some glue dots so you could put like little embellishments on your cards in gold, silver, or pink. So let me put down a couple of glue dots here. I like to put them down like this because if I try to take them off with my Pick-a tool, I don't get the perfect circle. And like that one didn't come out a perfect circle. but we're going to be sure we rub this one so that it comes out as a perfect circle. Oh, there we go. There we got another perfect circle where we didn't even try. Then again, we're going to take this and we're going to cover up our glue dot and take it off. Cover up the glue dot with the non-shiny side down. See, you could use a lot of your leftovers just doing this. So there we go. So remember, it's the shiny side up when you do this, which makes sense when you think about it. So, tear and tape, glue dots, ink, and running it through with the big die here. And then impressions deep and impressions lighter. It just depends on what you want. Now, if you wanted to, when it was this deep, you could take a sponge dauber and go over it and catch some ink on the tips of the leaves and stuff if you want to add a little bit more color to it. Well, I know this was fast, but I'm just trying to make some short and fast videos with some tips. I still have a few more tips to show you. So I hope you have a great evening, and I'll see you soon. Bye.